Okay, so it is 12:01 my time, so I'd like to get started. I'm Carla DeFlorio, and first of all, I want to thank you for just joining us and carving this time. And I know that Joanne said that that it might be best if going forward we move the time of this call because it does coincide with the coronavirus update, and I totally want to honor that. So we'll talk about that at the end of the call so that we make sure we get a consensus. The origin of this call, it was actually suggested by one of the chapter leaders, and we thought it was a great idea to just get people together and give us all an opportunity to not only use this venue to be able to share some information, but also to be able to learn from one another. So I just wanted to talk about the fact that it is intended that we do this on a weekly basis, at least for the foreseeable future. It certainly is not required, but as you signed on, you heard that this was a recorded call. And the reason for that is because we want chapter leaders who miss the opportunity to be able to go back and learn from you as well. Even if they can't participate, at least if they can hear what's going on in other parts of the country, that certainly will help. And so I want to talk about today's agenda. Today, we are very lucky that we have Michael Pollack with us, who is our CEO. And then he's going to give us some remarks about what's happening from the national side of things. And then we're going to turn it over to all of you and just kind of dovetail off of Michael will have some questions. And so we would love to hear, you know, the information sharing of what's happening with all of you. So as you are, I'm going to facilitate. So as you are wanting to participate, just go ahead and feel free to raise your hand, and then either you or I can go ahead and unmute you so you can share. And then I'm going to ask for your forgiveness now ahead of time, because I may have to cut you off because I do want to do a little bit of a demo for zoom.us, which is the venue that we're on right now, because I want you to see that there's an ease of use in using it, and we'll talk about some potential things we're working on to help get funding, to help defray the cost of zoom.us, the pro accounts. And then Jill will give a little update related to chapter orders and the requests that we receive for facilitator training. And then we'll pretty much do our wrap up from that point on. So it's a full agenda. So I would like to turn things over to Michael to just give us some thoughts from the national perspective. Michael, it's up to you.
Hi, everyone. Carla, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, depending on where you are, good morning or good afternoon. I just want to say that we're very mindful here in Chicago that all of you around the country are managing a lot, both personally with your families and with those that are part of your chapters. And this call is really intended to give you an update on what we're focused on nationally, but also to begin to hear from you in terms of what more could we be considering from our perspective. I've been hearing from a lot of chapters from around the country, as has Carla and Jill. We know that most, if not all, support groups are being suspended, either as a way to ensure that we're all practicing good social distancing. We know that based on the locations of many of our support groups, that the hospitals or other locations have suspended having outside groups come in. In other cases, we know that chapters' medical advisors have recommended that groups be suspended. So there's a variety of reasons for this, and our focus has been to identify some alternative ways to offer resources and support to our community. We have a number of online support groups already, and we always have. We've had 6 groups. We've expanded that to 11. Many of those online groups that exist already have waiting lists, and so we want to go even further, and we're in the process of trying to secure funding so that we could offer each chapter its own Zoom support group, online group, similar to this call, where you can conduct your own weekly meetings like your chapter's currently doing. And so that's more of what Carla will show towards the end of this in terms of the demo. But beyond offering support groups online to your members, we've been fortunate in that one of our chapters here in Chicago, the founder of that chapter is a very skilled facilitator, minister. She lives with a mental health condition and is also one of the past board chairs of DBSA National, Cheryl McGreeny. Cheryl has offered to provide some online support, and what we think would be most helpful is that she conduct support groups for group facilitators across the country. So support for the leadership of the chapter network, those that are really taking on the role of continuing to offer support, but also shifting into this new online venue, while also managing everything else and all the other anxieties that facilitators are experiencing. So we're getting that the organization of support groups for the facilitators up and running, and Carla will be communicating out once we know the schedule for those kinds of sessions. Lastly, is the DBSA website already contains a great deal of resources and helpful tips, wellness-oriented podcasts and tip sheets and the like. We're going to start communicating out links on a regular basis so that individuals can continue to access helpful resources beyond the support groups. And then we're also going to add more resources in the weeks ahead so that we're continually providing what our community is asking for. Later today, our monthly newsletter, electronic newsletter, will go out, and there's a column from me in there, and at the end of the column, I'm inviting readers to give us some feedback on what would be helpful. And so we're going to collect those thoughts, those suggestions, and that'll help inform the kind of information that we push out in the weeks ahead. So that's at a high level some of what we're focused on, certainly not everything. At this time, Carla, I'll turn it back over to you because the purpose of this call is really to hear from those that are part of today's call.
Thank you, Michael. Well, here we are, and we want to hear from you. This is your opportunity to tell us what's happening with your chapters. If you have suspended, what the circumstances were for suspension, whether it was coronavirus itself or whether it was your facilities that have required that. Roger, can I start with you? Would that be okay?
Sure. Hello.
Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, how you doing? I missed a part of the question there.
She was just asking if you could update her on what Louisville's doing, I think, Roger.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got muffled there a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, while we suspended all of our physical locations as far as meetings, actually most of them have turned the locations off to us. Maureen has actually started a couple weeks ago a text group on Saturdays, which is everybody just does a text version of it. So we do have one little avenue started. Myself and another member of our group have actually been looking at Zoom here, and we've been over the last 2 days kind of testing and trying to figure it out a little bit so we could actually offer online video chats just as we're doing today. I've done some of these at work in the past, and they're much easier now, and the video and audio is much more clear than it has been in years. So I think this would be an excellent avenue as far as reaching out to those that physically can't attend the meeting or be with other people, and give them an opportunity to voice their anxieties and hopes and whatever they have. So.
That's great. Maureen, did you want to add anything there?
Maureen, you're on mute. You have to unmute first.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. No, I was just saying that Roger's done a really wonderful job. I've been working, and today's my first day working at home. So anyway, he's really taken the lead on this. I'm glad all of our meetings have been canceled, actually, because people were showing up sick. And then other people were saying they were getting sick, but they wanted to be there. And so I'm actually kind of glad that our meeting locations pulled out on us. Maybe that's bad, but yeah. So, but yeah, I think we're doing okay. But our people here keep on talking and stressing that people are more apt to commit suicide than died by the virus. So.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I have a question in the chat that I wanted to answer, and it was from Eric, who said that facilitators are asking about 501c3 protection if they pay for the Zoom accounts personally. I'm wondering what you mean by protection, Eric, because really 501c3 is just a classification with the IRS. Are you saying, what do you mean by protection? Can you help me understand? This is from Eric.
I'm basically wondering about personal liability. So, you know, we were hoping we could, well, that's something that came up for us, whether there was any personal liability from paying for the just kind of going in, setting up your own Zoom account and then using that versus coming in, paying for you know, paying it through the chapter directly.
Well, I think Joanne provided a good solution. If they're worried about it, they can donate the fee to the chapter, and the chapter then can buy it. So they can do it that way. What we're hoping to do is raise enough funds that it can be a reimbursed expense for the chapters, so that once we find some funding, you will have the ability to get that reimbursed to your chapter. But we're in the process of it right now because all of this has come, you know, quite suddenly. So we're trying to react as best we can. So 501c3, to answer your question now, does not protect, okay? It's just a tax classification. you can set up the Zoom account in your chapter's name or in your chapter president's name. That might be the best way. And that's the best way to trace that it is for the chapter itself. Okay? All right.
So,
Any other
is it
follow-up?
okay if I ask a question?
Who's that?
My name is E. I'm a board member of the Orange County DBSA.
Hi,
And
how are you?
I'm good. So actually, I just set up a Zoom paid account last night for our meetings in Orange County.
Great.
So it sounds like so there's liability issues if I do that individually. Is that correct?
I don't think that there are really. I think that Eric's question is more about being cautious. You know,
Mhm.
there is liability is always a question with chapters. It's always a question, but
Mhm.
but you are a support group, and so that's why the liability question comes up.
Mhm.
But I don't think that online itself is going to cause any more liability than an in-person meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the same.
I would agree with that.
So Joanne, what's happening in your side of the world?
A lot is happening in my side of the world. For those of you who are not familiar with DBSA Greater Hartford, a couple of years ago, we decided to open ourselves up to serve a very underserved population. There are upwards of 100,000 people who travel for a significant part of the year or who live on the road. And they are not well served by locale-centric meetings. And so we have been doing our meetings for those travelers, and there are about 300 of them in our chapter,
Wow.
on an audiovisual platform already. It is not Zoom. It is Amazon Chime, which runs on AWS servers and doesn't require users to create an account. So my Nomad chapter, we are trying right now to anticipate that people are going to have to pull back from social media, and we're going to be beefing up the content on our website and opening it up to comments by registered users. We have a social media site for them already on our village, which is highly moderated and is not subject to the trolls and politics and that kind of stuff from I don't know what that noise is. Sorry. Oh, I see. Okay. Let me just turn my phone off. I'm so sorry. It's my grandson. Okay. So anyway, we are continuing our activities on that well-moderated social media, but we're going to be pulling back from anything on Facebook. Between the election and the virus, this is not going to be a healthy place. In addition, we are focusing even more on our people who are in Connecticut, because we feel that they are in a much more vulnerable position. The Nomad chapter has a lot of, its lifestyle makes this virus situation easier than it does for people in the cities. So we are very worried about the people in Connecticut. Is there anyone else from Connecticut or Westchester here right now? Okay, I'm going to assume there isn't. So I'm going to update you on what's going on in Connecticut and Westchester. Our two Hartford meetings we canceled them before the hospital had a chance to decide it wasn't a good idea to have us. We recognized the danger, and we set up we merged them into one group and set up a meeting at the same time as the larger of the two groups. And we're starting to have that being done by audio first, because that's easier, and we need to get people used to the idea of meeting without being in a room, and so we don't want to push too much complexity on them. and then we will open it up to video. But one thing that you might find useful for everybody is in our Nomad chapter experience, we find that about half the people prefer video and half the people prefer audio only. And you can, I assume Zoom can mix them just as well as our platform does. But not everybody wants video, not everybody can do video. And some people are going to switch between one and the other. So it's going to be probably a mixed group for you. In Greenwich, New York, we have a relationship with the president of the Greenwich chapter. She was about to start a meeting for us in Danbury, Connecticut. And the very same time she was about to get that going, the first Connecticut coronavirus case was one of the hospital workers at Danbury, so that didn't happen. We have donated a Chime account to the Westchester group, and we're helping them get up and running on audio and video. The Northwest chapter of Connecticut is overwhelmed, and they have simply ceased operations, but they are going to update their website to direct people to the Greater Hartford chapter, and we are going to welcome them in all our activities. We have not been in touch with Greenwich. It's a little bit of a complicated situation that's being run by a psychiatrist, and I wouldn't even be allowed to attend his meetings, so I just put that off to the side, and we'll think about how to deal with them later if they want to get some support from us. We are going to expand our services. Support groups by phone are nice. They don't work as well as in-person support groups. And we have pretty limited capacity. We know that we are underserving the Connecticut area because we are, there is a huge population of people with diagnoses and challenges that we're not reaching. So we are going to be organizing a daily check-in meeting, probably Monday through Friday to start. That will be open to all residents of Connecticut and all residents of the Nomad community across the country. And that will be a highly structured event that will be designed to use an only moderately trained facilitator, and to just simply give people a chance to hear friendly voices and to be reminded by each other of the wellness things that they can do to help themselves feel just a little bit calmer and a little bit happier. And we'll also be using the platform to let people know of other services as we bring them up.
Joanne, I'm going to ask you to conclude your comments because I do want to make time for others.
That's about it. That's about where we are.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for being so thorough. We appreciate it very much. Mason, can I ask you what's happening on your side of the world?
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Cool.
Yeah.
So DBSA San Diego missed one meeting last week because we were kicked out of our location like an hour before we were scheduled to have the meeting, and we didn't have a good way to get a hold of our members. But after that, we had meetings at a restaurant on one Thursday and one Monday, where we had very few people who were actually at the in-person meeting, and most of us were on Zoom. So we've already done a little bit of testing of how we can make Zoom work for us. It's working okay. I think, I'm trying to think what else. We're gonna try, I think, to host in-person meetings still, but small ones. And I'm not sure what the location for that is going to be yet. The other thing is we have our DBSA cross-country team, which is basically a walking group, and they're still going strong because they're meeting outside and it's a little bit safer to do that. So that's pretty much what's going on in San Diego.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Maureen, you already spoke. You see, I'm going sort of in order. So Barry, tell us what's happening. Barry or Kari or Michelle, any of you, that want to speak to Boston, or I saw
Michelle is our voice.
Michelle, you go for it.
Hello, everybody. Michelle O'Shea from DBSA Boston. We have a few other DBSA Boston colleagues on the call, which I appreciate. McLean Hospital closed suddenly last week and said all non-essential groups and personnel could not come on the campus. And our groups operate on the campus of McLean Hospital. So leadership has been working in the last week to keep our website and Facebook posts updated. We are trying to do Zoom meetings, and I don't know if we're overthinking it. We get about 130 people every Wednesday evening for a variety of groups. So we're gonna cut down the number of groups and try to offer Zoom meetings. But we're thinking of maybe having people enter and signing, have a waiver of liability, because the groups cannot be run the same way as an in-person group can be run, and we're struggling with the confidentiality issue, which really can't be promised where everybody's coming in from an outside setting. So we're rewriting our guidelines to have recommended guidelines for online meetings. They will be a little bit different, and we're struggling because a lot of people in our community don't know the technology. So we have a training gap. We have to get everybody up to speed. We have a great person, Corey, who's in this meeting, and Barry Park. They are our tech managers, and they're going to help us get everybody up and trained. So we've got a big curve there, but we're working on it, and we hope to have groups up and running in the next few weeks. So that's the update from Boston.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to pick back up
Carla?
again with Dave. Yeah, Kari.
Yeah, I have a question. Hi, Carla. Thank you for doing this. I have a question for the group here, people who have used Zoom for support groups. So we have a problem where we are trying to manage overflow. So we want to limit participants to 10, 15 people, and some of our groups are very large, like 30 odd. So have you tried breakout rooms if there's an overflow, or what other methods have you found useful? Yeah, Joanne, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we don't use Zoom, but we do use AWS's Chime, which is a very similar platform. And what we do is we have, and this has been for the Nomad community, we have 3 accounts. And if we get overwhelmed in a meeting, which we have not had to do yet, we have people standing by who can say, okay, let's dial, we're going to use a different meeting number for half of you or a third of you. And here's the meeting ID, dial into this meeting instead. So we break up into 3 separate meetings.
So there are a couple of facilitators who actually split apart, right?
Right, and in a pinch, we'll use somebody who's an experienced meeting attendee if we feel the group gets really too large. So far, we've been able to manage this by adding additional groups. So the Nomad community doesn't meet once a week; it meets 3 times a week. So that cuts up the group a little bit.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, thank you. Mason, you were saying something?
You.
I was just saying there's a way to break up Zoom into different rooms.
Yeah, breakout room. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the tool that DBSA San Diego is looking at using. And we're basically we're getting people through our Facebook group and our meetup group to join these groups and then see if we need breakout groups. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Okay, so I want to move this along because we have about 10 or 12 minutes left until I want to do a very small demo. So Dave, I'm going to pick up with you. Dave Newfer.
Sure, Dave Newfer with Pasadena DBSA and California DBSA. We suspended meetings last Tuesday. Some people thought that was too early. By Friday, everybody was in the boat on that. It was before the hospital. We meet at Huntington Hospital. And before they were starting to suspend meetings, they're going to re-examine at the end of the month, at the end of March, whether there are going to be meetings in April. at this point in LA County, it looks like we're going to be on some sort of lockdown or restricted movement for at least the next 3 weeks. We're exploring Zoom. A number of members had mentioned it. We haven't done it before. Hope to practice it or work with it within the next week, see what works. Also liaisoning with LA County NAMI, whose director is ex-Pasadena DBSA facilitator, to see if we can get any synergy with them in terms of, since they have analogous meetings for family and friends. And then talking soon with the DBSA California team to see if we can leverage any efforts between here and the Bay Area, and potentially get some other people involved in this effort, if that makes sense to you, Carla.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you have anything else?
I just wanted to say one thing, which is this is going to be very challenging for us as individuals and as society. I think it's a great opportunity for DBSA. We have not been able to reach out and get trial and awareness in terms of electronic platforms broadly within our community. I think of necessity, this is going to do that, and we'll come out of this crisis with capabilities to serve the community substantially more extensively than we are right now.
I agree. You know, I was on, as you can imagine, I was on a ton of calls yesterday talking about, you know, different options that we can have for chapters. And one of the things that came up was the idea that this is forcing us to just think about things in a very different way, and to maybe think about how we can best support things. So Cameron, I see you have a hand raised, and it's your turn. So go for it.
I'm going to unmute myself, so hopefully everybody can hear me now.
All right, you're good.
Yeah, and I'll try to be brief. So we're fortunate we have some very good technical people in our chapter. This is Middlesex County, New Jersey. And so they actually evaluated a couple different platforms, and then they decided to use Zoom. We had our last physical meeting on Friday, and then we suspended all the meetings this week. We have 3 separate group meetings in Middlesex County that meet Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So what we decided, and I guess I made that decision, we need a little time for training, and I know a few other people mentioned that. So rather than just jump into Zoom with a regular meeting, we thought it would be good to have a little training time. So we're actually scheduling some, you could call it a virtual facilitator training this Thursday and Friday. And then we also have a Saturday afternoon meeting that will just let all members, who just want to just see if they can log in easily, because a lot of members are not that technically adept and they're just concerned. We've been getting a lot of questions about how to use Zoom, et cetera, et cetera. And so we thought it'd be good just to have a little warm-up session on Saturday before we'll have our next official meeting on Monday for our chapter.
Great, thank you.
That's about it.
Thanks so much. Olivia, West Virginia.
Hello. I know that some of our groups throughout the state, and West Virginia is a very rural state, and we had more than 12 groups. We only have 12 groups running now. But part of the problem in West Virginia is because it's so rural. Some of the areas may not have access to actually get the internet in. I know in relation to our groups that a lot of our groups are in churches, and where I live in Morgantown, the person that runs the group in Morgantown, Lynn, she actually was getting ready to call the hospital, and the hospital got in touch with her and disbanded the group there. And a lot of our other groups are in churches. So I'm not exactly sure, and our executive director isn't here today, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. If a lot of the churches aren't, I know some of the church groups are not having church meetings. We had our first case in the Eastern Panhandle just the other day, so I don't think people were that upset until now, probably. I know a lot of people were thinking that it was going to come to West Virginia, the virus. So that's basically all I know right now.
All right, very good. Thank you for your report. Chris, how are things in New Jersey? You seem to be muted, Chris. We can't hear you. Chris, we can't hear you. And I can't. You must be muted on your microphone or something, because this is showing that. Here, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right. So in New Jersey, several of the chapters have, told us that, they were needing to suspend the meetings either because of the facility or because just the overall concern for the coronavirus. I'm very interested in the Zoom. I didn't really know anything about it, but I think that, many of the groups, the Middlesex group has already started working on it. So I think that experience will help the other groups in New Jersey explore that capability. And also if there's an opportunity to, to split it up in some, like to start out together and then split it up somehow, that would be very helpful if that kind of technology exists.
Yeah.
I think, well, for the chapter that I'm involved with here in Sakasana, it's relatively small. So, it could be all, it's only like 15 or 16 people. So, doing it all together might not be all that terrible. But I think if we opened it up online, maybe we would probably get a lot more people, I think. So, this might be something, even though we're trying it under fire, I think it might actually increase, participation.
Agreed. So we're starting to run short on time in this. Jeff, I'm coming to you next, so give me 1 second. I'm going to go to Jeff and then Sarah. Yi, just nod yes or no if you have an update besides what you've already reported, or are you just listening? Do you have more update? Yi Lin? Okay. Jeff, let's go to you.
Colorado Springs here. Our chapter has kind of been in upheaval the last month. First, we got kicked out of our location for asbestos, and now we, with the coronavirus, we went to a telemeeting for our board meeting last month, and last week. We decided to suspend our group starting today, and we had to cancel our Dana Brain Awareness meeting tomorrow. And yeah, I'm looking forward to starting the Zoom meetings and either Zoom or teleconferencing our local support groups. So that's my update.
Great, thank you. Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Our group is very interested in Zoom. We meet in Mass General Revere, and they kicked us out. And in Massachusetts, they don't want more than 10 people meeting in a group. One member offered her home, and then she decided against it, which, yeah, I get that. We're kind of all on self-quarantine here, So we were excited about this Zoom possibility. Our concern is that not everybody has the technology to log in. There's a lot of people in the group that might not have personal computers. But we do have a mailing list, and we'll ask for feedback and do the best that we can.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you for your support with the Zoom. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We're trying. Okay, Yi, go.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the technical guy for the chapter in Orange County. And so just some tips. Initially, I thought I would have people email me and put them on a list. And at the time of the meeting, I sent out an email with a link to the meeting. But then I found that there is a way to create a permanent link for like a permanent room, basically. And so we just created that and we put it on our website. So for the participant, they just need to go to the website, click that link, and they can go in. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, Sarah, you mentioned the fact that a lot of people don't have computers, but actually the Zoom works really well on the phone. And the only thing you need to tell them is that they need to install the app before they click the link, and then they can join just anywhere they are. So yeah, that's just some tips.
You're on mute, Sarah, but that's good. She gave you a thumbs up, so you're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Eric, you have a hand up, and give a really quick update because we're starting to run slow on time.
Sure.
Eric?
And yeah, in DC, we're moving towards Zoom. We're going to do it tonight with a couple of our meetings. Yep. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. Yeah, I realize my computer is also having some technical issues. We're not sure exactly what it is. So sometimes my internet connection is a little unstable. That's probably something other people have experienced as well. I was just going to say we're doing Zoom in DC. I've actually done a PowerPoint presentation.
Eric, you're a little muddled. Eric
We'll
Sharp.
be sharing with people who are walking through the process. Happy to Jill send that out. I also sorry. Yeah.
Eric, I'm sorry, your audio is really coming very muddled. We can't hear you. Could you put a little update into the chat so that we can see that at least? That was really hard. Olivia,
this is
you had a
Alvin
question about the
with
topic
National
of
Capital
Zoom.
area also.
Go ahead.
So Eric and I have been working on this together. So we have, I want to say 5 groups, and they're all going to meet via Zoom in the next week. We had a test meeting. We're going to have a board and facilitators meeting. So we hope we're learning it and we'll be able to use it successfully. We're certainly trying. Is the solution, because we might normally have 2 simultaneous meetings, to have 2 separate Zoom accounts for that?
Yeah, you can't have 2 Zoom meetings going on simultaneously, although you could split into these Zoom rooms. I haven't done that myself, but I know that it's possible. But I would just either do it back to back or do it at different times, because when you have a Zoom Pro account, you can run only 1 meeting at a time. That I do know.
Okay, that's one issue we faced. We hope this is going to work well. We think it will, but we're waiting to see. Anything else, Eric?
Yeah. Okay. Any other updates from you, Alvin?
I missed the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if there are any questions that were raised before. I don't know if any. Eric, do you?
Yeah, I'm back. I zoomed off, and I think I'm back now. So I hope you can hear me. Zoom. So I don't think you hear me. I mean, I'm unmuted.
Yeah, it's better now. Can't hear you now.
Yeah, okay.
Eric,
yeah, Zoom kicked me off and rebooted me back in, so that's what I'm saying. So I was also going to just comment. I don't know. You said you can hear me, or?
Yes,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm on the DBSA advocacy team. We are working on some federal legislative issues around online support groups. We would be curious to hear if people have issues about access, particularly in rural areas, are there places that people are concerned about? Email address in the chat box, so that people have ways that we can work with them on it. Second thing is I'm also represent the Loneliness Coalition. We'll be pushing information out about that. But again, if there's issues of social isolation, loneliness, and things we can do from an advocacy perspective, we'd be curious about. Thank you.
Okay, Eric Roman, I need to go back to you.
Oh, sure. So I'm Eric Roman from the Berkeley Bipolar Group. So we were given notice last Wednesday that we were losing our hospital assignment, and haven't had we don't have a mailing list or much opportunity to much way of reaching out to all of our members. So we're kind of scrambling to run out through the social media and the other forums we have. So we're I think we're going to talk about setting up a Zoom account, how to structure the Zoom accounts tonight to see if we can go there. We've had again some challenges with getting people familiar with the platform. I've used it extensively at work, so we have a couple of people who've done it that way. But we're trying to decide exactly whether to purchase any of the add-ons on the Zoom accounts and whether to go with the Pro or the higher level ones. We do have a minor issue with our, we just got our 501c3 status, and we're still looking at setting up, setting up bank accounts and things. So that's what's going on there. But we're reaching out to the state groups and some of the other local chapters to see what they're doing. So
Yeah.
so just one last question: is it possible on a future call or maybe via email to really find out what people's best practices are for running the groups online? I think that would do us.
I think we'll start compiling this. Jill, who all of you know, has been on Wave. Jill, say hello. Jill is taking notes, and we're going to post those so that we make sure we have all of that. And then maybe we can put together some sort of a way to add on to it, some sort of a bulletin board. We'll figure this out. So we are running short on time, and I would love for the rest of you, if you don't mind, to either email it if you're on the telephone, or if you are online and have access to the chat, if you could just put it into the chat of what's happening with your chapter right now, so that I can do a really quick demo of Zoom. And so I would appreciate that very much. So as you're looking at my email right now, hopefully, but I'm going to go to Zoom. This is the Zoom front page, and I'm going to move you all a little bit. And as you can see, I am at my account. So I have an account, it's a Pro account. Somebody asked how much the accounts are, and they are $14.95 plus taxes and stuff. And so that's per month. And you would only need one account as long as you are running meetings at different times. You can't have two meetings, as I said to Alvin, at the same time. So I'm going to go into my account and just show you how easy it is to set things up. So I'm in the profile page. If you look on the left side, there's the word profile here. And when I set up the account, this is the picture I put on. It gives me an account number, as you can see. And then as I scroll down, the only other thing that you'll really ever have to access at some point, or you may have to, is see right here towards the bottom, this host key. If you are like us trying to manage muting and you want to give someone else the power to do that, they're going to need this host key. So it automatically hides it, so you have to show it. And then you can just jot this number down. This number does not change, but then someone else can have the power to do that, to mute and unmute, et cetera. And they would just need that host key to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to scroll back up to show you how easy it is to set up a meeting. So I'm going to click on meeting. And right now you see all the meetings that I have set up, and chapter chat, as you can see, is on a reoccurring basis right now. And see the green dot tells you that that's the meeting that's live. And then you just hit schedule a new meeting, you name it, you put, you know, when it is. If you want it to be a reoccurring meeting, you would just click here, and then it would ask you how many repetitions you want, etc. You can set the time zone to whatever time zone you are in. And then I always click off on this required meeting password because that's just one additional layer. But maybe if you're doing it for a support group, maybe you would want the additional layer of security for doing a meeting password. And then I automatically make sure that that we mute participants upon entry, but because we're managing, you know, we have 31 people on the call, you're going to have much less. And so hopefully to be able to manage it. The other thing that I would suggest is that you not record a support group because that would violate confidentiality. So it's really easy to set it up, as you can see. I want to show you just a couple of other things. Just if you're using it for other purposes, like you want to do an educational event where you do record it, then you would just access your recordings right here. See, it shows that it's in progress right now. This 1140 is the one that we're on right now. The 1122 was somebody who was eager, and it recorded that person coming on. And then going down, you see this room management, Zoom rooms. If you take a look at it, you can add a room. See, and then you divide people up into room. And I know that there's a way that when you sign up, you request a demo and you can ask questions about adding rooms and how you divide that up. And I know that there's a way that you can randomly select, you know, who goes to what room. This is all more advanced than the way that I've used it, but I know that it is possible. So I just wanted to show you that, to show you ease of use. Someone asked about the research that was done and how, you know, how we chose that. We chose it because it is user-friendly, it is easy. HIPAA is relaxed around some of this. If you take a look at the group chat, there was some discussion around that. So I'm looking at this. Can participants use Zoom meetings and use video without identifying themselves or their email address? They could put down Minnie Mouse if they want. Any current meetings have anonymous login. Our current meetings have anonymous login. I mean, they just have to be consistent. They can decide a name they want to use. So anonymity can be preserved in that way. We don't have all the answers, and I'm going to be the first to tell you that. What we have at National is a willingness to help you in whatever way we can. And this is going to be an open dialogue. And we are here to help you get through it. And I hope that you have a sense that we're really in this together and we are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed and to support the people that we need to support. I'm going to turn it over to Jill for a second. She has a little update about chapter orders and facilitator training requests and that sort of thing.
Okay, can everyone hear me? In the interest of time, this is a very fast commercial. As far as the brochure orders and people sending me order forms for brochures, I am stacking them up. to actually put a brochure order together, I have to physically be in the office, and we are all, as a staff, working remotely. So please be a little patient with us in returning calls and things like that, because we get the notices through our laptops at our homes, because we are all staying home, hopefully. As far as the facilitator training, places that I've scheduled, I've already talked with and worked with folks and let them know that it's not a no. It is just that it's temporarily put off until we can gauge when we can start traveling once again. But ink, boom, my commercial's done, Carla. In the interest of time, I'm going to be quiet. And I want to say it's great to see everybody who I've been speaking with and talking to. And thank you for everything that you do for us. Boom, done.
Absolutely. Thank you. So for those of you who missed the very beginning, the reason that I have a photograph instead of my live persona is because I have a hideous dye in my right eye, and I'm too vain and embarrassed to show you what I look like right now. So, so we have about 4 minutes left, and I want to gauge the group about time, because Joanne brought up that this time conflicts with the national update on coronavirus. So just by kind of a nod, can I gauge with the people who are on video at least, of would it be more convenient if we went like 1 hour later, like, or 1 hour earlier? So show of hands, 1 hour earlier. Okay, like one person, 2 people. Later, 1 hour later. Oh, many more people. Okay, so we're going to adjust the time on this to 1 o'clock Central Time starting next week, so that we can accommodate that. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you if there are particular discussion items that you would like to talk about on this call. We're going to also, that is 2 o'clock Eastern Time, yes. If there are particular items you want to discuss on this call next week, just let Jill or I know, and we'll make sure that's part of the agenda. Really, the intention of this call is to continue to monitor what's happening out there with all of you and how things are working, and how we can best support you. We are your team. We are here for you, and I hope you feel that. And so with that, I'm going to give you 2 minutes of your day back. And I hope to see you all and more of you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, stay healthy, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay well. Peace.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, all.